Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. It is a new year. It's a new decade. Happy 2020. I really do think that this is going to be a really good year for us. But you know who this is not going to be a good year for? Tom Hooper, the director of Cats, because I saw Cats and it sucked. I freaking love musicals. I am that girl. If you want to sit down with me and have an hour-long conversation about the history of musical theater and live productions and movie musicals, we can do that. I am deeply invested. But for some reason, I've never been able to really get into Cats. I don't know. I think, first of all, don't love Andrew Lloyd Webber right off the bat. Second of all, Cats, the costumes are kind of creepy and the makeup has always weirded me out. And frankly, this movie was the worst reintroduction to the production imaginable. And I know you're thinking, Kim, you saw the trailer, you knew what was going to happen. And honestly, I didn't really see the trailer. Now, I heard all of the conversation about the trailer, but like I said, I don't care about this show. And when all of these horrible reviews for it came out, I went from like, oh, I don't really care to see it to, oh, I have to see it. So I went and watched it twice because I always try to see movies twice before I review them. And frankly, it's a really bad sign that this movie only improved marginally upon second viewing. And really, it only improved because those basic ass songs got stuck in my head. And they didn't get stuck in my head because they're good. They got stuck in my head because they are basic. I want to underscore that. Andrew Lloyd Webber is the Post Malone of musical theater. The movie begins on a truly terrifying note with music that sounds like haunted circus synthesizers. The music is extremely dated. It sounds very much like the 80s. And I get that the show debuted in the early 80s. I get it. But it sounds dated and it's distracting. The actual setting of the show is supposed to be London in the 30s and 40s. So now we're sitting in 2019 with weird 80s synthesizers for a show that's supposed to be in the 40s. It's all very confusing. So we start off, it's very dark. It feels like we're in a weird feline nightmare. And I guess that's appropriate when you really think about what Cats is about. It's about basically a cult of cats deciding who's going to be ritually sacrificed at the end. Victoria is the main cat in the story. She's white. She's very graceful and lithe. Victoria is played by Francesca Hayward. She's actually a principal dancer with the Royal Ballet, and it shows. She moves beautifully throughout this film, and she is the cat that is supposed to represent us. She's seeing the Jellicle world through new and mostly confused eyes, the same way that we are as the audience. The story starts with Victoria being thrown out, and the cats circle around her curiously. And you guys, I'm going to be using the words terrifying, horrifying, scary, horrific, nightmarish so many times throughout this freaking review because those are the best descriptors. We see the cats and they are utter monstrosities. Sometimes they're skulking around on all fours and sometimes they're walking on two legs or dancing on two legs, and then we see their faces and it's really clear that these are not cats. They're cat-like demons with human hands and feet. It's so disorienting and disturbing. I found myself recoiling many times during this movie. And I'll admit, I have to acknowledge my bias because I am still very afraid of clowns. And I'm really also afraid of those animatronics. I used to go to Chuck E. Cheese when I was a little kid. This is way back in the day. And Chuck E. Cheese and the Chuck E. Cheese band would be like robot animals. I am still really creeped out by that, right? So that's my bias. But I've read enough reviews of this film to know that everybody had that same response. They all were ugly. Did you ever think that you would watch a movie and wince every time Idris Elba's character came on screen? Because Macavity? You want to talk about demons? That's a demon. And maybe the filmmakers were going for that eerie feeling, but I really doubt that their aim was to make the cat-human hybrids so weird looking as to make the film unwatchable. Okay, we've got to talk about how the CGI, the animation, killed this movie, because that's really it. The budget for this film was $95 million. There is no reason why it should have turned out this bad. I went and watched some of the background behind the scenes stuff of the making of this, and all of the actors and the dancers and the background players, they weren't wearing cat suits. What they were wearing was motion capture suits, and everything was added afterwards. So I decided to go back and try to do some research to figure out what went wrong. And what I figured out was this film ended production in April. That means that they only had 7 months to do that state-of-the-art digital fur technology, something that has never been done. Now, compare that to a DreamWorks film or a Pixar film where they're doing all of that really high-tech, expensive animation. That stuff takes years. The fact that Tom Hooper thought that he was going to be able to do that in 7 months is ridiculous to me. Clearly they struggled. This is the worst use of CGI that I have ever seen in a film. And I have to say, I went back and watched the behind the scenes of the 1998 filmed version of the live production. And I think it was Andrew Lloyd Webber who said that in a conversation that he had with T.S. Eliot's widow, because this is based on Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats.
And there's a funny story there, because when I went to see Valerie Elliot, T.S. Eliot's widow, to ask whether or not I could have the rights to make a musical out of cats, one of the things she said is, I don't want them turned into pussycats. And I said, well, that's not what we had in mind. She said, well, the thing is that Tom, that's T.S. Eliot, turned down Disney, because he didn't want them to be pussycats or turned into cartoon cats.
I get that they were trying to be true to Eliot's wishes by having them be kind of hybrids. Horrible execution, absolutely horrible. And I think I mentioned in another video that there were not press screenings, or not many press screenings for Cats. And I thought that was because the studio knew that this movie was bad. But in my research, I found that Tom Hooper, the director of this movie, who has won an Academy Award for a movie called The King's Speech, which wasn't great, and was nominated for his adaptation of Les Mis, that usually you would want to have a lot of screenings to drum up some support and word of mouth. They didn't have that here. And one of the main reasons why they couldn't have press screenings is because Tom Hooper, the director, did not finish editing the film until the day of the first premiere. What? This is a $95 million movie. This is not a high school English term paper that you pull an all-nighter to finish. Like, what is going on? And then the day after I saw this movie in a theater for the first time, I saw this news alert on The Hollywood Reporter saying that for the first time in history, Universal Pictures was going to release a patch to the movie to fix some of the CGI mistakes. That's never been done. It's never been done that they said, oh, just kidding. Okay, that was the rough draft. We're going to send you the final draft of the movie now. I kind of get it. I get the rush. I understand how awards work. They wanted to make sure that it was out for the Christmas season because this is a big movie going period. But it wasn't ready. Many times in this movie, the cat heads look like they're floating. The ears do weird stuff. There's a lot of dance sequences that are ruined because the bodies move weirdly in space because of the animation. And I'm like, do we just not have the CGI technology that we need to be able to pull this off? Did they need more money? Did they need more time? I don't know. Okay, but let's go back to the movie. Victoria appears. She's the protagonist. She's supposed to represent the audience. And the company immediately launches into the song, Jellicle Cats, Jellicle Cats. Jellicle Cats, Jellicles, Jellicles. And that's when I was like, oh, the music sucks. It's really bad. The dancing was good. The dancing was amazing. But the actual songs do not slap. And that's our first indication. And then they move into a graveyard where they're chanting. And it is weird. And I was like, is this Macbeth? Is this a seance? Is this The Craft? Like, what's happening? It was a true nightmare. And I want to be fair. I want to make sure everybody gets the blame that they deserve. So I mentioned that Cats is an adaptation of T.S. Eliot's Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, so a lot of the lyrics of the songs come directly from that book. The nonsense words and the weird-ass names come directly from that book. So we've got to place the blame squarely on T.S. Eliot's shoulders, but Andrew Lloyd Webber did not make it better. The source material for this movie was obviously old because they did real old school predictable fat jokes with Bustopher Jones and Jenny Annie Dots, played by James Corden and Rebel Wilson respectively. Neither of them were good in this movie. I'm just gonna be honest. They were too broad. The jokes were too predictable. The timing, it just was not good. And this is not Rebel Wilson's fault, but with Jenny Annie Dots, they did the very, the thing that people do to fat girls in films, which is make them, so sexual and bumbling and awkward. It's a movie about cats. I know it's supposed to be ridiculous, but it didn't help. And I guess I did like Monkish Strap, and I did like Victoria, and I guess I did like Mr. Mistopheles. It was so creepy. Even talking about it is actually creeping me out, so we're gonna keep it moving. One thing I have been confused about is, in the reviews, a lot of reviewers have been saying that Francesca Hayward, who plays Victoria, she's a star, and this is her breakout role, and she's such a good actress, and I've been confused, because I'm like, there's not a whole lot of her acting in this movie. Basically, what we get from Victoria is her looking graceful like a cat and looking around kind of confused. Is that acting? I mean, I guess if you consider that to be acting, then she did a good job. And that takes us to another central weakness of the film. The plot is as thin as Donald Trump's comb over, to be honest. Okay, what plot? There is no plot. It's the Jellicle cats vying to decide who's going to die at the end and come back and be reborn for a new life. And McCavity wants to be reborn. He wants to go to the Heaviside Layer. So he wants to eliminate all the competition. So one by one, he disappears all the cats we're introduced to. And we're introduced to those cats in one bad song after the other. Grisabella is chosen. We get another bad song and the movie is over. And then I was just like, okay, well, if McCavity is magical, then why doesn't he just use that magic on himself? You know, the first time I watched the movie, I was kind of confused because I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Am I missing something? Because I was bored and I couldn't keep up. But then I realized nothing is going on. Nothing is happening. You're bored because all of this is terrible. The writers of this film definitely could have built this world out more. They could have given us more plot, more storytelling, more highs and lows. But I really think that they thought that the CGI was going to carry us through, that this would be another Avatar, that we would be so amazed by what we were seeing on screen that we wouldn't notice that nothing happens in this movie. If you're gonna make a movie where basically nothing happens, then the visuals need to be stunning. And sometimes I would be pulled in by the beautiful dancing, and there's one or two songs that were just okay, and I'd really be invested, and then I'd be taken out of it by the bad animation or just the weird looking cat people. It was an unsustainable endeavor, ultimately. But I will say that a bright spot is that there were quite a few places in this film that are inadvertently hilarious. I cracked up the first time I saw Rum Tum Tugger. The first time he appears, it was so strange, just weird. And Rum Tum Tugger's song, while we're talking about Rum Tum Tugger, played by Jason Derulo, his song sucks. It sucks. It's supposed to be a funk song. It's supposed to be soulful. He's supposed to be the rock star, but it was funk music made by somebody who doesn't have any soul, clearly. I saw reviewers trying to compare it to Prince. How dare you? I'm so offended by that. No, it was bad. And maybe they were trying to evoke Prince with all of that purple lighting in the background of Rum Tum Tugger's big scene. But no. Jason Derulo and his CGI'd bulge did not do it for me. I did like Old Deuteronomy. I love Dame Judi Dench, love her in everything that she does. She was impressive and she was stately, and I like that Judi Dench has a little bit of history with this show. And I like gender bending, so usually in the live productions, Deuteronomy, who is like the big cat who gets to choose who gets to die and be reborn, Deuteronomy is like the god person, and it's usually played by a man. Love that. I thought it was weird that Deuteronomy wears this big fur coat. Like, where are we getting the fur from? Also, who is making these cat clothes? Are y'all using your human hands to make cat shoes and cat hats and cat vests? Like, I know these are questions that you're not supposed to ask, but I'm wondering. Also, a cat wearing fur, it's like me wearing human skin. It's weird, and it's never addressed. I did think that the sets were pretty cool. They made these humongous sets for the actors to dance and play on so that they would feel like really small in comparison. And when you watch the behind the scenes, you're like, oh, a lot of work went into this. But then you ask questions like, okay, we're in a bar right now. You know, who's the bartender? Where are the humans? We only see the humans throw Victoria out, and we don't really we see human hands throw Victoria out. But this is a human world, and we never see any human. It's like, you know, but these are questions that you can't ask. There are just way too many bizarre moments to count. Like, how about when Jenny Any Dots, she's doing her big singing and dancing number, and she's tap dancing, and she eats a cockroach with a face on it, and she unzips her cat body to reveal another cat body underneath that has a costume on it. She does this more than once. And you know, we have to talk about Grisabella. Grisabella, played by Jennifer Hudson. She is one of the most important characters in this film. Grisabella is the old ran-through glamour cat who has been kind of ostracized from the Jellicle community. Sounds weird to say, but that's true. And she really needs a new start. That's really what she needs. And Grisabella sings the most important song in this entire movie, Memory, the most famous song. Don't love that song, but I will tell you, this is the best vocal performance that I've ever heard from Jennifer Hudson.
Turn your face to the moonlight.
I think Jennifer gets a really bad rap because she's a loud singer. There's a lot of volume, and there's not usually a whole lot of dynamics in her singing. Memory, the way she performed it here, it built up to that big Memory climax. I can appreciate a good crescendo. I really can. And it made me almost like this song. However, the other acting Jennifer did in this movie, we got to have a conversation about it. It was a lot. She was doing the most. And I feel like, is Jennifer Hudson just not getting, you know what Jennifer needs? She needs an opportunity to just be regular. You know, because Jennifer Hudson, she's famous for those big broke down musical songs, and she's famous for singing loud and dramatics. I feel like we need to give Jennifer a chance to just be a 3. During this entire movie, Grisabella was on a 10, and she was snotting and crying and doing the Annalise Keating limp, and it was just a lot. Grisabella has her big moment. She and her uncontrollable mucus and her acrylics. Did you notice that she had human hands with acrylic nails on them? But whatever. She's chosen. She gets to ascend to the Heaviside Layer in a magical chandelier. And that's great. She deserves it. But also, Gus has about 2 weeks left to live, okay? Gus is clearly on his last legs. We couldn't have given Gus another chance. Like, that was funny to me. Oh, and you know what we haven't talked about? The cat boobs. All of the cats have very pronounced cat boobs, including Taylor Swift's character Bombalurina, who has exceptionally big cat boobs. And so the effect that we get with this digital fur technology is that these people are just wearing sexy cat suits, like literal sexy furry cat suits. It's so weird. And obviously, I mean, the men don't get that Though McCavity does have abs. Speaking of Taylor Swift, she showed up to give us more thin vocals and pigeon-toed dancing. I don't know why people are determined to convince us that Taylor Swift is a good performer. She is not.
McCavity.
Now, that song, McCavity the Mystery Cat, is pretty good. It's okay. I was gonna say it's pretty good. No, it's not pretty good. It's okay. But Taylor Swift's dancing is notably bad. The vocals are notably bad. And I think that it's just time for us to accept and embrace that Taylor Swift is a great songwriter. That's it. Why force it? Why are you doing that to us? And that song that she wrote for this film, it's called Beautiful Ghosts. It's an okay song. It's not worse than any of the other bad songs in this movie. And I guess I just get annoyed because it's like, you just took a role from somebody who would have actually done well as Bombalurina, who actually could have danced the part and sung the part. And I know she's a massive star and she loves cats and she wants to be a cat. I get it. It was distracting. Sir Ian McKellen was good as Gus the theater cat. His song about being an old, broke-down theater cat was cute. I even liked it when he lapped up the milk out of the bowl. I know people were kind of making fun of that. I mean, it's cats, whatever. However, I laughed out loud at the end when Gus pushes Growl Tiger off of the plank, and then Gus looks into the camera and does a weird face and makes a noise. I laughed. It was hilarious. What? These choices, and this is where we need to talk about the directing. The directing of this film is just bad. It's just not good. And by the directing, I mean the camera shots, the angles, the choices to make so many of those beautiful dance scenes close-ups, to do quick cuts during those dance scenes. The best part about Cats is the dancing. When I went back and looked at that 1998 recorded version, and when I looked at a version that somebody just recorded on their phone or whatever from the 2016 Broadway revival, the dancing is the best part of Cats, by far. Seeing all of those beautiful dancers moving together, that's why I love theater anyway. It really does move me to see lots of people moving in unison. It's amazing to me. Andy Blankenbuehler's exceptional choreography is screwed over by horrible decision-making from Tom Hooper. Just let us watch them dance. That's what we're here for. We want to see actors do some cat-like stuff in unison. But instead we get quick cut, close up, weird camera angle. It makes me so mad. And then add on top of that, the weird animation stuff that they did to obscure some of the cool dancing. Horrible choices. I feel bad for the actors. I feel bad for the dancers, the choreographer, because the movie is bad, but there is some good stuff in it. There just was not enough here to make a good movie. They forced it. And let me tell you, I recently just came across Wicked. I know, I'm late. I mean, I always knew the song Popular from Wicked, but I never really spent time with it to go through the whole show. Those songs are amazing. We need a Wicked movie yesterday. And then I tweeted that and somebody sent me a link that there is a Wicked movie in production and it was supposed to come out last year, but it got pushed to make way for Cats. I'm calling the police, okay? I'm pressing charges. Whoever made that decision, electric chair. So we've already established that the reviews are terrible. They're really, really bad. Some of the worst reviews I've ever read, to be honest. I know, what's so funny is that they went into this movie thinking this is gonna be Oscar bonanza, awards for everyone. You get an Oscar, you get an Oscar. Nope. In fact, when I was looking through who's been nominated for the big awards, there's an Academy Awards long list that has just been released. Cats is not on there. Not even Taylor Swift's original song made the Oscar long list. That's pretty bad. And then I found out that Universal pulled Cats from its 4-year consideration page. They're like, y'all don't even play yourselves. Like, don't even look at this movie. It's not worth it. It's pretty interesting. But not only do critics not like it, but audiences don't like it either. It is not going to make its money back in the US or abroad. That is horrible. Hopefully somebody is looking at this and going back to the drawing board. We need to give more people more opportunities to make movies. There's no reason why this should have happened. And then we get people like Jason Derulo getting on Instagram talking about, what do the critics know?
Hey, reviews don't matter, man. Reviews don't matter. You know what I'm saying? People are going to go see it, and it's going to be a deportation to another dimension.
They don't know. They've never made a movie. And it's like, we have eyes, Jason. We have eyes and ears. I feel bad because if you put your all into this and you get your hopes up, Jason was thinking he was gonna be in a critically acclaimed movie. It didn't pan out, but that's not our fault. Tom Hooper made some really, really bad choices on this film, both in the writing and the directing. And it says a lot that for years and years and years, I didn't get Cats. I thought it was weird that people are obsessed with Cats. I felt like it was white culture, to be honest, okay? I finally kind of got it, or I got it a little bit more after going back and watching versions of the stage production, and I got the basic ass songs, and I got the beautiful choreography, and I got the intricacy of it. The fact that I got a better understanding of what makes Cats Cats from watching the YouTube clips and from watching videos on YouTube than I did from actually watching the film, that says a lot about how much went wrong in making this movie. All of the good parts were stripped bare. I expected Cats to be bad. I didn't expect it to be a literal nightmare that would haunt my dreams. And I didn't expect it to be boring. All right, y'all, that's the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Hit me up in the DMs on Twitter or Instagram. I am trying to give up social media in the 2020. I'm trying to give it up. But I do still check the DMs there. Shout out to all of the patrons. I appreciate you enormously. Most recently, I have uploaded my 53-week reading list for 2020. This year, I'm reading about 50 books in 53 weeks written by Black women. I put up my 53-week challenge up on Patreon, so check it out. Read along with me. There is a phone number there that you can text if you want to talk to me about those books or about pop culture. I'm opening up my text to the patrons. Only text me about pop culture stuff, nothing else. That's it. Current events and pop culture, that's it. But hit me up, we'll talk about it. I've had some really good conversations via text so far. So let's continue that. Again, thank y'all so much for watching. Buy some merch, shopforharriet.com. We're still selling the Read More Bell Hooks merch. Okay, this is important. If you are a Black woman who wants to apply for the For Harriet grant for undergraduates, email me a cover letter and resume or transcript, grants@forharriet.com. That's grants@forharriet.com. Cover letter, resume, transcript, proof of enrollment, whatever they give you, send it on over. I'm going to pick a new winner for January within the next week or so. Grants@forharriet.com. Not my DMs, not Kimberly@forharriet.com. Oh, and I'm trying to be more organized with this. So the next video is going to be about Kevin Hart's series over on Netflix. Did y'all watch that? There's some stuff for us to talk about in there. So next video, we're going to be talking about Kevin Hart's, I can't even remember what it's called, but his Netflix series. Watch that. Watch it. Okay. I'll see you next time.